Hey, how's it going, everybody? If you're new here, welcome in. And if you've been here before, smash the like button on the way in. I'm Rollshambo, the connoisseur and collector of all things sharp and shiny. And today is an amazing day because anytime we get an opportunity to check out anything new from Winterblade, yeah, it's going to be a pretty good one. I'm excited. In these boxes are not one, but two new models from Winterblade, the company which is known for innovation, driven by one man who is Brian Winters. And a big thank you to Brian for including me in the pass around. Even though he came out with a ton of inventory, it's still sold out like that. Damn! And so many people were left heartbroken. And today we're going to find out exactly why. Now, we're going to go ahead and start off with one. The first one we're going to talk about is the Veyron. Check it out, guys, the Veyron. And right off the bat, I'm going to tell you that I'm getting vibes of the Winterblade Severn, and a lot of that has to do with this lock right here. This is called the J-Lock, and the J-Lock is 100% mechanical. There are no magnets in this knife. So what do you get? What do you pay for? What's the damage on the Veyron? And what are we talking about design-wise? Well, it has the J-Lock, which is actually very similar to the Stealth Lock, which is what we saw on the Severn, which means that you can, of course, actuate it similarly to a crossbar style lock, but also with this button up here, which makes it very, very fidgety. It's also extremely strong. That is locked up and locked out. It's doing 25 to life. Where's that lock going? Nowhere. It's a good looking knife. This specific one is in the high vis orange, but they do have it in other colors as well as titanium. So this specific one has a 3¼ inch 20 CV blade. Keep in mind, this is OEM'd by Kunwu. Kunwu has been known to do some amazing heat treats on their steel, so we know that this 20 CV is truly coming in at 61 to 62 Rockwell, which for 20 CV is perfect. Absolutely love that. The blade is PVD finished, so no DLC on this one. It is a PVD finish, but it's got some seriously slicey edge geometry. This is meant to be a workhorse and a fidget master all in one. And I know some of you guys cringed when I said fidget, but let's be honest, the more enjoyable a knife is to handle, the more likely it ends up in your pocket, and the more likely it ends up in your pocket, the more likely it is to use it. So I'll let you guys hash that out in the comment section down below. A lot of people might go more towards the titanium version. The difference is going to be about 80 bucks. This one is $250, and then the full titanium version is $330. So you can kind of do it your way. Something that I really like about this one is that it is fully ambidextrous on both sides. You can actuate it with the J-Lock on the spine. And I have to make sure to say this. This is not a crossbar style lock. It just looks similar to it. And of course, the pocket clip is reversible to the other side. So lefties, the good news is you don't have to wait for a left-hand friendly version. This is a knife that readily accepts anybody that wants to carry it. For the deployment options, we got this beautiful deployment window right there, and it fits perfectly. It's very easy to actuate in and out, and I could definitely fidget with this for hours. Full T8 hardware all the way around means that you can, of course, take this apart to your heart's delight, and a single-sided captive pivot makes that very easy. I love captured pivots. I think everyone should do captured pivots. So, Brian, thank you for recognizing that and making this one pretty easy to take apart. Now, the G10 version is going to be coming in at 5.1 ounces, and the titanium version is 6.1 ounces. Now, at first glance, I thought that this might be a bit of a chunky blade, but when we put it up against something like a Spyderco Paramilitary 2, it's actually pretty close. The Paramilitary 2 is a little bit longer. 8 inches overall on the Winterblade Veyron, 250 bucks for a G10 version with PVD finish, 20 CV blade, and this amazing locking mechanism, which again, guys, is fully mechanical. This is the Winterblade M-Fire. And this is my favorite of the two. And there's quite a few reasons for that. If you have seen the Winterblade Mirage, or if you've handled one, you might be familiar with the M-Lock, which is a magnetic lock. And when you press the switch, it would deploy automatically, but it was kind of a slow, steady affair. This is crisp. It's much more crisp than the Winterblade Mirage, more power on that deployment, and you do have to give it a bit more kick on the retraction. This knife is gorgeous. It's not just the fact that it's white on black. It has a lot to do with how it feels. This is, for all intents and purposes, classified as an automatic knife because it uses a magnetic detent system with what they're calling the I-lock to create a bias towards closure. So it's not like a regular automatic. A regular automatic would have a bias towards opening. This one has a bias towards closure. So what I mean when I say that is you get to a certain point and it's just going to suck it back in. But until you get over that magnetic detent, it's just going to stay open. So can you do a reverse flick? Yes, you can. Can you get it to bounce off the detent? Yes, you can. It is one of those things that's very, very enjoyable to actually fling back into a closed position. Very similar to the Veyron as far as the pocket clip is concerned. There are some key differences here and some very, very important key differences. First of all, this version with the white titanium Cerakoted show side scale and the black carbon fiber clip side scale is about $380. And a lot of that has to do with the fact that we've got Vanax in the house. And not just that, it is DLC coated Vanax. We have a similar blade shape to the Veyron, but this one is actually what I would consider to be more of an EDC size. Where the Veyron is a full-size knife at 8 inches, this one is what I would consider to be an EDC size knife coming in at 7 overall. Now, the first time I handled this, I would not have guessed that it is a 7-inch knife because as you can see, I can get a full 4-finger grip on here and also have real estate left over. We've got a nice back spacer here on the back, which is great to see because yet again, we've got a really good cutting geometry on this blade. The blade itself is 2 3/4 inches long, but the handle being 4 1/4 inches long means that even with large size hands, you can get a full grip on here, no problem. Now there is no jimping here on the spine of the blade, but that's fine. The aesthetic on here is extremely clean. And I gotta say, the switch from using bestech to Kunwu is one that I stand behind 100%. Not because I don't like the manufacturing quality coming out of bestech, but because of some of the things that you get by having your knives manufactured with Kunwu. You get a high polish, an almost mirror polish DLC coating. You get really, really well heat treated steel. Again, this is Vanax, and they are going to be heat treating these between 60 to 61. Now, for those who didn't know, Vanax is one of those super steels that is quite possibly one of the most corrosion resistant super steels out there. It also has a decent amount of wear resistance and also a decent amount of toughness. It's kind of like MagnaCut in that aspect, but a lot of people actually prefer Vanax. And for those of you who are hardcore collectors that care about these details, Vanax is kind of a rare bird. We are seeing it more frequently these days, but still not nearly as frequently as other steels like MagnaCut or M390 or LMAX, or, insert your favorite blade steel here. Vanax, on the other hand, is just hard to come by. So if you've been wanting to test out a steel, it's really cool to get it on a winter blade. And I think that it's an amazing option, especially for people that carry their knives all the time. Regardless of the environment, it's not going to let you down. Vanax is a great steel. Now, this knife is, in my opinion, extremely fidgety. It is very, very fun to play with, and it's one that I thoroughly enjoy. We've got some beautiful milling here on the white Cerakoted handle scales, and then it says M-Fire here, kind of engraved in there. That's great. T8 hardware all the way around. Single-sided captive pivot, and it says M-Fire system. Now, the M-Fire system is technically a automatic knife system. It uses magnets to kick the blade out. but it's not like a regular automatic knife. It's not going to be kicking quite as hard, you know, as a ProTech or as a microtech, but it's very crisp, very clean. The mechanical feel of all of this is great. Now, something that I think is entertaining is a big argument that many people have against automatics, even when it's legal for you to carry them in that state, is, well, you know, I don't like to depend upon a spring. A spring could fail. The magnets are going to be far, far more reliable than any spring ever will be, because they just take so long to wear out. But if you're someone that doesn't like automatics at all, or if you don't like spring actions at all, or you don't want that automatic action, you just want a manual folder, this one is easy to take apart with the T8 hardware, and all you got to do is remove those magnets, the 2 neodymium magnets, and you've got yourself a pretty sweet manual folder. And so that's great news, because there are people in jurisdictions that don't allow the carry of automatic knives. So for you, if that's you, you get this, you take it apart, you take out the magnets, Bob's your uncle, Fanny's your aunt, and you've got a pretty sweet knife. I love this aesthetic. I love the blade shape. I love the cutting geometry. Again, just like with the Veyron, that is laser thin behind the edge. And of course, that polished DLC finish just looks fantastic. You know, in fact, let's go ahead and put some more fingerprints on there. You know, maybe I'll drool over it less. Probably not. I can't help myself. As a fanatic, I can tell you that the reason why I love both the M-Fire and the Veyron is because of what they represent. These represent what the community has been begging for the last couple of years, and that is innovation. We've got the I-Lock, we've got the J-Lock, we've got manual folders that function extremely well. We've got new technology coming in at, albeit a premium price, but when you compare against other high-end knives, there's a certain wow factor that you get each and every time you check out a winter blade knife. And whether it's the Factor, whether it's the Mirage, or an M-Fire, or a Veyron, they all have that secret sauce. They all have the X factor that makes them extremely desirable. And that, my friends, is why every single time there's a drop, no matter how many pieces that Brian Winters puts into inventory, they will sell out like that. If you got in on the pre-order, let me know. If you got in on the drop, let me know in the comment section down below which one of these two was your favorite to look at, or are both of these a pass for you? Let me know. And if you watch this video and you haven't done so yet, please consider subscribing. We are so very close to that 10,000 subscriber mark. And by the way, if you want to watch more awesome knife and EDC content, feel free to click on one of the videos that pops up next.